I went against my family's objections and called off my engagement with William, insisting on being with Jonathan. 6 years later, Jonathan had risen to fame and success, thanks to the Lin family's power. He then turned around and married his true love. He even said in front of the media, "From the beginning to the end, I never loved Miss Lin. It was all one-sided from her." His woman, with her arm linked with his, smiled sweetly and said, "Over the years, Jonathan and I have been through many hardships. Even though Miss Lin tried to force her way in, relying on her family's power, we never gave up on each other." They held a grand wedding. As for me, I was imprisoned and left to die. After being reborn, I woke up to consciousness. This time, I would make sure those scumbags and their mistress were locked away for good. Chapter 1. Where are you? Jonathan's reproachful voice came through the phone. 3 years of dating. Jonathan repeatedly told me that his mother didn't like my high-class mannerisms. To win her approval, I started abandoning my luxurious wardrobe and tried to dress more simply, adopting a modest style. But his family kept spending my money, living a lavish lifestyle, putting on the airs of a wealthy family. Jonathan told me, "I like clean and pure, not women with heavy makeup." So, I began wearing no makeup every day. Meanwhile, his woman always had her makeup perfectly done, standing by our side. Every time we went out, people would say they were the perfect match, with him being the talented man and her the beautiful woman. Whenever I got upset about this, Jonathan would say, "I like you the way you are. Don't worry about what others say." I believed him completely, and started caring less about my appearance. "What's going on?" I replied coldly to Jonathan. "What's going on?" Jonathan's voice grew irritated. "Jessica, didn't you remember it's my mom's birthday today? We're at Xingshi Hotel, and all our relatives are here. I'm giving you 20 minutes to get here, or we're breaking up." "Jonathan, you're awesome," came the sound of men's flattery in the background. A wave of disgust washed over me as I impatiently hung up the phone. This time, I wouldn't blindly obey you anymore. In my past life, at Lou Mother's birthday party, I went without makeup and was overshadowed by Natalie, who was all dressed up. Everyone around me started whispering, "Is this really a high-class lady? She looks worse than Natalie. No wonder she's throwing herself at Jonathan." Since they wanted to watch me humiliate myself, I would play along. Half an hour later, I arrived wearing a red evening gown and a delicate makeup look. I pushed the door open, flipping my long, black curls. Natalie, on the other hand, wore a pure white spaghetti-strap dress, with a light makeup look that made her appear as a delicate white lotus. But compared to my vibrant red rose, she seemed rather pale. When Natalie saw me, her smile froze. She didn't say anything but looked straight at Jonathan. One glance from her, and Jonathan understood everything. "What are you doing? I told you before, I don't like women with heavy makeup." Jonathan pulled me aside, speaking in a low, displeased tone, feigning surprise. I said, "Isn't it your mom's birthday today? If I didn't dress up, would you have wanted me to show up looking sloppy? Don't you think it'd be embarrassing for you?" Jonathan was left speechless. After a moment, he warned, "Just this once. Don't do it again." I didn't respond. Instead, I started looking Jonathan up and down. He was wearing a designer suit, and on his wrist, he had a Rolex Submariner. He looked the part of a successful businessman, completely different from the poor man I first met. Chapter 2. I still remember when I first met Jonathan on our university campus. His clothes and appearance were completely out of place in this fashionable city. It was a rainy day, and I had forgotten to bring an umbrella, so I was running to the classroom with my bag over my head. He passed by me and held the umbrella over my head, with most of his body exposed to the rain. Later, when I went to return the umbrella to him, I found out that he had gotten sick from the rain. Out of guilt, I took care of him. As time went by, I started to develop feelings for him. I thought he was my destined soulmate, but little did I know, everything was part of a plan with Natalie. They wanted to establish themselves in South City. They needed a stepping stone, and I, with my naivety and wealth, became their target. I walked right into the trap they had set for me. In the beginning, Jonathan was always accommodating and kind to me. He picked me up and dropped me off every day and even brought me breakfast. Through wind and rain, without fail. He even protected me during a car accident, holding me tightly in his arms. At that moment, my love for him reached its peak. Later, I discovered that the car accident had been arranged by him as well. It was all to make me feel like I couldn't live without him. After the accident, I introduced him to my parents. No matter how much my parents opposed it, I was determined to be with Jonathan. I resolutely broke off my engagement with William. My father was so furious that he almost had a heart attack. And in the end, it was only after I threatened to kill myself that they reluctantly agreed to my relationship with Jonathan. After the engagement, I became desperate, trying to get Jonathan into the family business. Eventually, he took control of the Lin family's power. And then, he married his new love. That was when I finally woke up. But by then, it was too late. I was imprisoned by them. My father died of a heart attack due to the stress. In her despair, my mother jumped off a building and committed suicide. In this life, I will make Jonathan and his family pay. Happy birthday, Auntie. Please accept this small gift from me. I walked up to Lu's mother and handed her the prepared gift. In my past life, I had given her a fine jade bracelet. She had mentioned a month before her birthday that she had recently developed an interest in jade and emeralds, particularly liking the color emerald green. In my previous life, I put a lot of effort into acquiring that flawless bracelet. It was worth millions. This time, however, the gift I gave her was a freebie I received when buying a bag, which I just wrapped in a nice box. There was no point in giving them anything valuable. It was better to just put on a show and get it over with. Just put it over there. Lu's mother eyed the gift with visible desire, practically itching to open it. But she had to maintain an air of superiority, always trying to act like a high society lady. If it weren't for the fact that all their relatives were present, no one would believe that she used to work as a cleaner. Now, thanks to me, her whole family could live without working. I placed the gift on the side and quickly glanced at the dishes on the table. There were ginseng, shark fin, and abalone, just to name a few. The entire meal must have cost several tens of thousands. They were spending my money so lavishly. Even for a small birthday party, they invited 8 tables of people. That's several 100,000 gone in an instant. Fine, I'll just wait and see what they'll use to pay the bill. Jonathan's relatives, upon seeing me, couldn't help but compliment me. Jonathan's mother, your future daughter-in-law is not only rich. Lu's mother, with a haughty expression, replied, this isn't even official yet. Whether she can marry into our family is still up for debate. Jessica, that necklace is quite nice. Take it off and let me try it on, Olivia said. Like a thief, every time we met, she always took something from me. Ever since I got together with Jonathan, I had stopped wearing high-end brands because Jonathan didn't like me being too flashy. So most of my designer items ended up with Olivia. She didn't even ask permission. Over the years, I've lost count of how many things she's taken from me. This is a limited edition. Very expensive. I can't let you have it. This was the first time I refused Olivia, and it left her embarrassed. You ruined my plans with William, so consider this necklace your compensation, Olivia said, shamelessly. When she saw that I wouldn't give it to her, she even tried to snatch it from me. But luckily, I knew her well enough to avoid her. Olivia threatened, it's just a necklace. If you won't give it to me, you don't want my brother to marry you anymore? She knew I cared most about Jonathan, but I was reborn, and now I knew what was coming next. How could I still care? Marry me? I certainly didn't want to die again. I've done what you asked, but you're ugly, and people don't like you. I can't do anything about it. Who are you calling ugly? Olivia's face turned red with anger. Mom, brother, look at this woman. She's insulting me, she yelled. Jessica, you've gone too far. How could you say something like that to Olivia? Natalie immediately seized the opportunity, hugging Olivia's shoulders and comforting her. Olivia, don't be upset. You're just not good at dressing up. Lu's mother suddenly stood up, pointing at my nose, and scolded. What do you think you are, insulting my daughter like that? Look at you, all heavily made up. Like a monster. You really think my son likes you? Over my dead body will I ever let you into this family. Jonathan slammed the table and shouted, Jessica, apologize to my sister right now. Maybe I'll forgive you. Why should I apologize? Was I wrong in what I said? I lifted my eyes and saw Natalie's malicious grin. She was waiting to see me beg Jonathan, hoping I'd embarrass myself in front of everyone. She even took out her phone, probably to record my apology. Jonathan said, as if it were a matter of course. My sister asked you to help her pursue William. You couldn't even handle such a simple task. And now you won't give her this necklace as compensation. What's the big deal? Chapter 3. William used to be my fiancé. Our families have always had a close relationship, so our engagement was arranged when we were young, though it had some elements of a business marriage. William genuinely liked me, that is, until I met Jonathan. I always thought William was a good match for me, and it turned out he really was a good match, unfortunately. I was later deceived by Jonathan into thinking William was only with me to take over the Lin family business. I was angry with him, frustrated with him. Even though I knew he didn't like Olivia, I still forced him to meet her. She herself is like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh, and now she's blaming me for not being able to get it. As soon as I said this, the Liu family exploded. Who are you calling a toad? Olivia, furious, charged at me, ready to hit me, but I grabbed her wrist and shoved her backward. She lost her balance and fell to the ground with a thud. You bitch! Olivia sat on the floor, cursing at me. Jessica, how could you do this to Olivia? After all, she's going to be your future sister-in-law. Apologize to her, and we'll forget about this. Natalie pretended to be concerned and moved closer, but I avoided her like she was the plague. Natalie looked a little embarrassed. Lou's mother pointed at me, her eyes full of malice. Listen to me. If you dare humiliate my daughter like this, don't ever think you'll step foot in the Liu family again. Jessica, did you hear that? Apologize to my sister now, or I'll break up with you, Jonathan said, his tone cold and unforgiving. This was the sentence I feared the most in my previous life. The moment Jonathan said break up, I'd immediately back down. He always used the threat of breaking up to control me. Well, then let's break up. This time, I wouldn't care. I tossed my hair, turned around, and walked away with confidence. Being with him, even for a second, disgusted me. If I stayed even a minute longer, I was afraid I'd throw up. Jessica, you'd better not regret this. Don't come crying to me later. Jonathan's furious voice echoed from behind. I ignored him and slammed the door as I left. As soon as I got in the car, my dad called. Jessica, William is leaving the country and won't be coming back. Are you happy now? In my previous life, my dad had called me at this point too. I didn't care at all and even mocked him. I have nothing to do with him. If he wants to leave, he doesn't need to tell me. William was leaving because of me. Not long ago, in my attempt to show loyalty to Jonathan, I had set up a plan to make William and Olivia get together. William was smart, and he saw through my scheme. He was completely disheartened by me. He left for abroad and stayed there for many years. It wasn't until after my death that he returned. He learned of my suffering and vowed to get revenge on those who wronged me. He deliberately got close to Olivia to gather evidence of Jonathan and others trying to steal the Lin family business and my life. But Jonathan found out. Jonathan silenced him, tampering with his car and causing a deadly accident. This time, I came back not only to save my family but also to save William. I'm on my way. You guys stop him. Don't let him leave. I hung up the phone, urging the driver to speed up while dialing the bank. I froze Jonathan's card, wanting to see how he would pay for things without my money. By the time I arrived at the Mu family's house, the servants were loading William's luggage into the car. My parents were still trying to persuade him. He frowned, looking determined. I parked the car beside them. I got out and walked toward him. He looked at me, confused and angry. I knew exactly what he was angry about. It was because I drugged him, trying to get him and Olivia together. This was something he hadn't told anyone. Neither our parents nor his parents knew about it. I wondered, if Mu's parents knew, they would probably never forgive me for the rest of their lives. Can we talk? William's face was cold. What's left to talk about between us? 10 minutes. After that, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. Seeing the sincerity in my eyes, William softened, as he always did when it came to me. We went to his bedroom. Say what you want to say. I got straight to the point. Let's get married. In my previous life, he loved me with all his heart. This time, I was going to love him with my life. What did you just say? William's expression darkened with anger. He must have thought I was playing with him, but I could understand why. I had humiliated him so much before, and now, I was asking him to marry me. Anyone would be cautious in his shoes. You heard me right. I'm serious. Let's get married. Let's go to the registry office right now. William grabbed my shoulders, his grip tight. Jessica, what do you want? Do you have to step all over my pride before you're satisfied? William, I know what I did to you in the past. I know it's hard for you to trust me. I didn't know how to express my sincerity. So, in the heat of the moment, I kissed him. William's eyes widened in shock, and after a few seconds, he pushed me away. Jessica, do you have to humiliate me like this? His eyes were bloodshot, and there was a hint of tears in them. Looking at him like that, my heart ached. I wanted to slap myself. How could I be so cruel? How could I hurt someone who loved me so much? Chapter 4. I broke up with Jonathan. I had a really long dream. I told him everything that had happened in my past life as if it were a dream. He paused for a moment. Because of that, you broke up with him? But who knows? A few words from him, and you might just end up back with him. In the past, I loved too humbly. I was willing to live or die for Jonathan. Everyone was convinced that I couldn't live without him, including William. If he hadn't believed that, he wouldn't have given up on me completely. I don't love him anymore. Please believe me. Just as William started to soften, Jonathan's call came through. As soon as William saw Jonathan's name on the screen, his expression turned cold again. I answered the call in front of him and put it on speaker. Jessica, what do you mean by freezing the card? We've broken up. You're not planning on spending my money anymore, are you? Jessica, are you sure you want to do this? Jonathan sighed deeply. Come back now and buy the items. I'll let it go. But don't expect me to forgive you otherwise. Then don't forgive me. I hung up the phone and blocked him right in front of William. Now, can you believe me? Are you sure about getting the marriage certificate? William's expression softened, a little relieved. Let's go. I grabbed his hand and hurried downstairs. Our parents were downstairs, and when they saw me holding William's hand, they exchanged confused looks. Have these two kids reconciled? Give me the household register. Ever since I got together with Jonathan, my mom had been worried that I might act impulsively and get the marriage certificate with him, so she kept the household register hidden on her. What are you doing? My mom took a cautious step back. Getting married to William. I held William's hand tightly and slightly raised it. What? Our parents went from disbelief to tears of joy. My mom even cried and prayed. Thank God. My daughter finally came to her senses. Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, William stopped and looked at me. Are you sure? Once we get this certificate, even if you die, you'll only be with me. Let's go. I excitedly pulled him inside. After we got the certificate and came out, my phone rang again. It was an unknown number. Jessica, you have half an hour to come here, or I really won't forgive you. Jonathan's anxious voice came through. He must have run out of money to pay. Now he was starting to panic. A guy who depends on others. I'm not going to indulge him. I didn't even bother to answer him. Just hung up the phone. He called several more times with different numbers, but I rejected and blocked every one of them. The next month, William and I went on our honeymoon. At every place we visited, we checked in with photos and posted them on social media with the caption, "The boy rides the wooden horse." Circling the girl, 20 years of friendship. No secrets. My WeChat moments exploded. Chapter 5. Our mutual friend Selena commented below, "Congratulations. May you two lovebirds be together forever, grow old together, and have many children." Later, Selena privately messaged me. From her, I learned a lot of funny stories about Jonathan. At that birthday party, He had no money to pay and had to borrow from the relatives and friends present. When these people heard that he needed to borrow money, they quickly wiped their mouths and slipped away. In the end, only Jonathan's family and Natalie, the pretentious coquette, were left. The few of them had to scramble and sell everything valuable I had ever given them. Since they were in a hurry to sell, the buyers deliberately haggled the prices down. So items worth millions were sold for only a few $100,000, just enough to pay off the debt. In fact, the buyers were people I sent. I knew they wouldn't have enough money to pay, so I predicted they would sell the things I gave them. I made sure the prices were driven down deliberately, hoping to leave them penniless and desperate. After everything was finished, they were kicked out of their house. The house they were living in was mine. The first thing I did when I returned to life was secretly sell the house. All of this was for today. I wanted to drive them out. When they saw the house had already changed owners, they tried to pull some tricks, but no one was in the mood to indulge them. They were immediately reported to the police and taken away. After coming out of the police station, the whole family cursed me. Jonathan went to the school to look for me but found out I had taken a leave of absence. Meanwhile, the project he and his friends had been working on was rejected by the school. In my previous life, I had always thrown money at everything to get the school to approve their project. This time, I refused to fund them, and the school immediately rejected it. Jonathan then desperately tried to contact me, but I had changed my number, and he couldn't reach me. Without me, he quickly returned to his poor, miserable life. But it's easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance back to frugality. Having lived a life of spending money like water, Jonathan's family struggled to adjust to the hardships they once faced. The days of barely scraping by, counting every penny, quickly led to conflicts among them. They started blaming each other. "It's all your fault. You had to act so smug. And now look, Jessica doesn't want you anymore." Olivia sneered at him. Jonathan, already angry, slapped her across the face and shouted, "If it weren't for you wanting her necklace, I would never have fallen out with her. You slapped me." Olivia held her face in shock, furious. "What gives you the right to hit me? You can't even make a living off your own money. You really think rich girls are fools, letting you manipulate them? Now look at you. Can't even get your soft meal anymore. I wonder what you'll do next." Jonathan hated being called a kept man. Now, he was ruthlessly humiliated by his own sister, his face turning a mix of red and purple. "Say it again." "I'll say it. Kept man." Olivia had always been spoiled by her mother, so she wasn't afraid of Jonathan. "I'll kill you." Jonathan raised his hand to strike her, but Lou Mother stopped him. Lou Mother pulled Olivia into her arms and, though her heart ached seeing Jonathan's red and swollen face, still tried to calm him down. "Why are you hitting your sister? Will that bring Jessica back? What you need to focus on now is how to win her back. She's on leave at school, and I can't even get in her house. How am I supposed to find her?" Jonathan sat down in despair. Over these past days, he had tried every way he could think of to reach me, but failed. "Then you should stake out her house. I don't believe she won't go back home." Though Lou Mother's idea was clumsy, it was still a plan. So, for the next few days, Jonathan stayed near my house. Selena, who lived in the same estate as us, always saw Jonathan lurking nearby when she came and went. She even secretly took photos of him and sent them to me. To my surprise, he looked much more worn out than before. His face was covered in stubble, and he seemed to have aged several years in just a short time. Even though he had a good-looking face, the dark circles under his eyes were impossible to hide. "What are you looking at?" William came back with my favorite milk tea. When he saw Jonathan's picture on my screen, his brows immediately furrowed. I quickly wrapped my arms around his neck and coquettishly said, "Selena sent this to me. It's not that I want to look at it. She wanted me to see how miserable Jonathan looks now." "Selena, you can't blame me. What else can best friends do if not have each other's back when it counts?" William raised his chin slightly. "So, after seeing this, are you happy or upset?" "Of course I'm happy. I was worried he might get jealous, so I prepared to plant a kiss on his lips. But William was too tall and uncooperative. Every time I tiptoed, he just raised his chin. Chapter 6. I glanced around. Not caring about the impact anymore, I jumped up, straddling him, and successfully planted my kiss on his lips. William was stunned for a moment, and the fake anger he had quickly disappeared. He was afraid I might fall, so he immediately embraced me. Now do you believe me? You're the only one in my heart. I spoke with sincerity as I pulled away from his lips. I believe you, but... He flashed a mischievous smile and whispered in my ear. That's not enough. We'll continue back at the hotel. My face instantly turned red, flushed with embarrassment. I got off him. After the honeymoon, we had just returned to South City. As we were about to enter the estate, someone suddenly jumped out and blocked our path. The driver reacted quickly. He slammed on the brakes, causing my head to collide with the passenger seat. Fortunately, the impact wasn't too strong. William hurried over to check on me. How are you? Are you okay? I'm fine. I shook my head. Seeing the worry on his face warmed my heart. Jessica! Someone began knocking on the car window, making a loud thunk-thunk sound. I helplessly pressed the button to roll down the window and saw Jonathan. His face covered in stubble, wearing a white shirt with a stain on the chest. It looked like he hadn't changed his clothes in days. What do you want? I glared at him with disdain. Jonathan was visibly excited to finally see me. Jessica, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I promise I'll treat you better from now on. Treat her well? That's my duty, not yours. William replied coldly, giving Jonathan a disdainful look. Only then did Jonathan notice William inside the car. He questioned, how could you be with him? Didn't you promise me you'd break up with him? What business is it of yours who I'm with? We've already broken up. You have no right to interfere. Jonathan tried to reach through the window to grab my hand, but I swiftly pulled it back. Jessica, I was wrong. Please forgive me. That day I was just angry. I didn't mean it. I sneered. Didn't you say that men's words are like gold? That's not what I meant. I'm not a man. As long as you forgive me, I'll do anything you want. Now Jonathan had none of the pride I once saw in him. Some people are just shameless. When you love them, they take your affection for granted and trample on your sincerity without a care. Now, I no longer loved him. Yet, he acted like a dog, groveling at my feet, even though I knew he didn't mean a word of it. Seeing him humiliated like this felt satisfying. In my past life, I had begged him like this. I had begged him to spare the Lin family. But he had said, Jessica, do you know how much I hate you for pretending to be so perfect? Why do you get everything so easily while I struggle just to make a name for myself in this city? I can't accept this. I will be the one on top. The Lin group will be mine. After he took control of the Lin group, he made my father suffer a heart attack, refused to send him to the hospital, and watched him die. At that time, I was locked in the basement, though I didn't know about the details. He would come to see me. Every time he did, it was with bad news. He came 3 times in total. The first time was when my father died of his heart attack. The second time was when my mother committed suicide by jumping from a building. The third time was when he was going to marry Natalie. At that point, it didn't matter to me anymore. I just wanted to kill him, to die together with him. But I hadn't eaten in days, and my body was too weak. As soon as I lunged at him, he shoved me away with force. Want to kill me? You're not worthy. He turned and walked away, ruthlessly. My head crashed into the edge of the table. A sharp pain shot through my skull, and warm blood began to flow out, quickly soaking my back. I bled out and died just like that. Chapter 7. Since that's the case, tomorrow at school, if you read this apology letter in front of the entire school for an hour, I'll forgive you. This apology letter was printed during our honeymoon. That day, Selena told me Jonathan was lurking around, waiting for me. I had already planned everything to humiliate him. I not only wanted to humiliate him, but also make him lose the one thing he was most proud of, his academics. Jonathan took the letter, skimmed through it briefly, and hesitated, his face showing doubt. Didn't you say you'd do anything I asked? If you can't even do this, how can I forgive you? My expression turned cold. If you're unwilling, then forget it. Let's go. Wait. Jonathan hurriedly knocked on the car door a few times. I'm willing. All right. See you tomorrow at school. I couldn't be bothered to say anything more to him and pressed the button to roll up the window. As the window closed, I still caught the flicker of hatred in Jonathan's eyes, though it lasted only a brief moment. Let's go. The car slowly started moving. William grabbed my hand. His intense gaze focused on me. You spoke to him. You'll be punished tonight. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I really didn't know how this man had so much energy. He was always trying to mess with me. It seemed like tonight would be no exception. The next day, at school, I arrived in my Ferrari, making a grand entrance. Jonathan had never liked me being too flashy in the past, and I had once discarded all these attention-seeking things. Now, I was going to be the proud, beautiful princess I once was. As soon as I entered the campus, I bumped into Selena. Selena looked me up and down. Arlen's big miss is finally back. I flicked my hair back and walked with grace. My eyes were closed for a while, but now they've been opened. You've finally woken up. I told you. Jonathan's not a good guy. Selena had once argued with me fiercely because of Jonathan, but later, when she saw how hopeless I was with him, she stopped getting involved. Selena walked up and linked her arm with mine. At this moment, the campus was crowded with people. Jonathan was holding a loudspeaker and reading the apology letter I gave him, and he had already been reading for over half an hour. I'm a kept man. I'm spending Jessica's money and foolishly trying to control her. Hurt her. Our whole family is ungrateful. Jessica fed us and took care of us, and yet we insulted, hurt, and deceived her. We're not human. Jessica, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. The surrounding crowd burst into mocking laughter. With so many people laughing at him, Jonathan's face grew darker. He wanted to run away, but he couldn't. After all this effort, he couldn't let it all go to waste. To make a name for himself in the city, to become someone important, he had to endure. Finally, the hour was up. Jonathan turned off the loudspeaker and walked toward me. Jessica, I've finished reading it. Please forgive me. Jonathan clutched the loudspeaker so tightly it seemed like he wanted to crush it. I glanced at him and sneered. At this moment, his restraint was nothing but preparation for his plan to crush me tomorrow. I knew this better than anyone, so I had to strike first and push him into the abyss. Fine. I forgive you. Really? Jonathan excitedly grabbed my hand and began complaining endlessly. Jessica, please unlock my card. You don't know what kind of life I've been living recently. Jonathan was now at his breaking point. He no longer cared that there were so many people around. He didn't care if they called him a kept man anymore. After all, after reading that hour-long apology, he had nothing left to lose at school. As long as he could return to his former wealthy life, he was willing to do anything, even things that made him look ridiculous. As long as he could gain my trust again, it would just be a matter of time. At that point, he'd make me pay back 100-fold. 1,000-fold. I shook off his hand in disgust. I forgave you, but that doesn't mean I agreed to get back together. Jonathan froze, his expression dazed. But you said, as long as I read the apology for an hour in front of the whole school. I interrupted him. A bright, mocking smile appeared on my face. I said I forgave you, but I never said I'd get back together with you after the apology. Chapter 8. So you're deliberately playing me? Jonathan finally realized what was happening. His face turned ashen, his anger boiling over. At that moment, he exuded a murderous aura. But since we were at school, I doubted he would dare to do anything to me. So what if I am? I smiled mockingly, a smug look on my face. Jonathan pointed at me, his tone vicious. Jessica, you wait and see. I won't let you get away with this. Sure enough, the next day, news about me appeared online, with the headline, Rich Heiress Steals Love, Plays with Poor Boy's Emotions. Jonathan took to the internet, writing a blood-boiling, tearful accusation against me. He claimed I had intervened in his relationship with Natalie. He said that if he didn't agree to be with me, I would send people to destroy Natalie. He portrayed himself as sacrificing his dignity for Natalie's safety, enduring humiliation, and choosing to be with me. He also claimed that when he invited Natalie to his mother's birthday party, I had exploded in anger, storming out, Jonathan said I had forced his family to become homeless and even made him read an apology letter in front of the entire school for an hour. But still, I wasn't satisfied. Using my influence, I pressured the school to revoke his research project. This caused a huge uproar, especially in a society filled with people who harbored hatred toward the rich. The incident quickly gained momentum online, and keyboard warriors everywhere attacked me. Meanwhile, Natalie, a small internet influencer with over 100,000 followers, posted a picture of herself in tears on social media. She captioned it, "Destined to never be. Hoping in the next life I won't encounter such powerful people." Natalie's post won her a great deal of sympathy. Her follower count shot up, and in the process, I was pushed to the center of the storm. I was being ruthlessly criticized online. But honestly, I didn't care. They could insult me all they wanted. It wouldn't hurt me. In fact, I was thrilled. I even paid to boost the posts, making sure this event dominated all major websites for an entire day. I walked into school like nothing had happened. However, I hadn't expected some people's hatred for the rich to be so extreme. As soon as I arrived at the school gate, someone threw rotten vegetable leaves at me. Thankfully, Selena shielded me, and we managed to escape quickly. Later, the authorities investigated Jonathan's revoked research project. After their investigation, they concluded that Jonathan's project had indeed failed. They published the findings online, but the comment section was flooded with accusations that I had bribed them. Very few people cared about the truth. As the heat of the incident grew, it was time for me to strike back. In the hallway, Jonathan blocked my path. "A good dog stays out of the way. Move." I was disgusted, ready to walk around him, when I heard Jonathan mutter, "Jessica, this is what you get for crossing me. If you kneel and beg me now, maybe I'll forgive you." I covered my nose in distaste. "Your mouth really stinks. You." Jonathan restrained himself, his voice venomous. "You'll regret this. Sooner or later, you'll come crawling back to beg me." I couldn't be bothered to respond. I bypassed him and left quickly. Once I got home, I uploaded the audio recording I had prepared earlier, along with all the details of the money I had spent on Jonathan and his family over the years, as well as the chat logs between us, to the internet. On the day of Lou's mother's birthday party, I had secretly brought a voice recorder with me. I had recorded every word of our conversation, while his family claimed they had suffered under my oppression. The recording clearly showed they had been arrogantly dismissive of me. Anyone with eyes could tell who was in the wrong. In addition, I uploaded the records of the secondary card spending. Jonathan's family spent hundreds of thousands a month. The comments quickly turned around. People shifted their anger toward Jonathan. Chapter 9. The comments online were ablaze. I've seen men living off women before, but I've never seen one who's so shameless about it. He's like a pimp who still sets up a shrine to himself. "Beautiful miss. Look at me. I'd be more suited to living off a woman, and I definitely wouldn't act like him. Oh my God. If this is blackmail, then please blackmail me. I'd gladly be forced into it. Princess. Look at me. Look at me. This family is shameless. They take from others and still act so righteous. They even go after the young lady. Thankfully, she dumped him. It's a real pleasure to see." Jonathan's family was thoroughly exposed. Even Lou's mother and Olivia, who had just found jobs, lost them. The entire family was unable to pay rent and was eventually evicted by the landlord. It truly became a prophecy fulfilled. They were homeless after all. The school expelled Jonathan, citing the massive negative impact he caused with his malicious rumors. With nowhere to turn, Jonathan could only turn to Natalie for help. But Natalie couldn't save herself either. Her comments and taunts recorded in the audio file were now backfiring. Netizens quickly labeled her as a maldita pretentious coquette. She had gained tons of followers before, but now her numbers were rapidly plummeting. "Natalie, now you're all I have left." Jonathan clung to Natalie's hand, oblivious to the disdain in her eyes. "Jonathan, you can't let that woman get away with what she did to you. We're broke and powerless. How can we fight her?" Natalie, seething with resentment, looked at the foolish Jonathan. Although she despised him internally, she still had to put on an act and pretend to care. "Don't you remember? You were supposed to take a secret photo of her while she was asleep." "Oh, right. Jonathan suddenly realized. How could he have forgotten that? A woman's greatest fear is having intimate photos leaked, and I already knew he would resort to this trick. I had been preparing for it for a long time. When Jonathan tried to use the photos to threaten me, I wasn't the least bit afraid. 10 million in exchange for your intimate photos. You won't be at a disadvantage. Jonathan thought he had me cornered and laughed arrogantly. Give me your card number. We exchanged money for the photos and videos. Just as Jonathan was about to leave with the money, several people suddenly barged in and restrained him. Mr. Jonathan, you're being detained for suspected blackmail. Please come with us to assist in our investigation. Jonathan's eyes widened as he looked at me in shock. He didn't expect me to have set a trap for him. Jessica, you bitch, you set me up. Even as the police restrained him, he continued to struggle and curse at me. He knew this was his last chance. 10 million was enough to put him behind bars for a long time. He wouldn't have a chance to insult me in person again. Don't slander me. I didn't do anything. I watched as he was taken away, and a heavy burden lifted from my heart. The culprit was finally brought to justice. With that behind me, I began preparing for my wedding. William was determined to give me the best of everything. Every detail of the wedding was tailored to my preferences. The day of the wedding arrived. It was a grand spectacle. Dozens of Rolls Royces. A true display of grandeur. When I walked arm in arm with my father toward William, everything felt so surreal. In my past life, I had foolishly pushed away such a good man. I was grateful for the chance the heavens had given me to make things right and win him back. William, Jessica is now in your hands. You must cherish her and treat her well from now on. My father's eyes were filled with tears. I knew they were tears of happiness. I was finally marrying William, the man they had watched me grow up with. I had no regrets. I walked toward William with a bright smile on my face. William, however, seemed a bit emotional. His voice choked as he said, Jessica, do you know? My dream since childhood was to marry you. Today, I've finally made that dream come true. After the ceremony, we changed into new outfits and went around to toast each table. Jessica, you're mine now. A loud roar echoed through the hall. Before I could react, I saw a person dressed as a waiter rush toward me with a knife. Everyone around us was stunned. The tight wedding dress made it hard for me to move. I couldn't dodge in time. Just as I thought I was about to lose my life, a strong arm pulled me away, but the sharp knife struck him right in the abdomen. William! I saw blood pouring from his wound, and an overwhelming sense of terror flooded my heart. In my past life, I had bled out and died. I was terrified he would leave me like this. No, it couldn't happen. Jessica, you took my son from me. He was so talented, but you had him locked away. I'm going to kill you. It was then that I saw who it was. The woman charging at me was Jonathan's mother. She tried to advance again, but thankfully, the hotel security stopped her. I held William, who had been stabbed in the abdomen, and cried, William, hold on. Don't leave me. I can't live without you. William was quickly rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Luckily, we made it in time. The knife had missed his vital organs. The doctors assured us that his life was no longer in danger. As they said this, my trembling hands finally stopped shaking. Those hands were stained with William's blood, the bright red blood, drowned in silent tears. Once William was taken back to his room, I collected myself and went to his side, holding his hand. William was still exhausted, likely from blood loss. His voice was so low I had to lean in close to hear him. I put my ear near his lips. Jessica, I had the same dream you did. I froze for a moment before I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. The emotions I had kept bottled up for so long finally erupted in tears. Jessica, I'm sorry. From now on, I'll protect you and never let anyone hurt you again. He gripped my hand with all the strength he had left. I knew William had truly returned to me. After William recovered and was discharged from the hospital, I began preparing to deal with the people who had hurt us. They wanted my life? Well, I wouldn't show them any mercy either. I quickly contacted Olivia's father. I knew he had divorced her mother a long time ago and had remarried. His new wife was greedy for money. A few words of persuasion, and it wasn't long before they took Olivia and forced her into an arranged marriage. 300,000. She was forcibly married to the village fool. She tried to escape a few times but was always caught. Eventually, they broke her legs so she couldn't run anymore. It wasn't long before Olivia became pregnant. Next was Natalie. She was the one who had incited Lou's mother to kill me. I wouldn't let her get away with it. Natalie had once been a small internet influencer, but my retaliation had led to her downfall. Now, she was trying to break into the online drama scene. She had landed a few roles thanks to accompanying some big shots. I anonymously tipped off the wives of those big shots. And before long, Natalie was beaten in the streets and left exposed. After several humiliations and beatings, she developed a psychological trauma. Whenever someone approached her, she would panic. Once, she was so scared she ran into oncoming traffic. She was hit by a car and thrown several meters away. Though she was rushed to the hospital and saved, her body was ruined. With all the people who had wronged me dealt with, I finally felt at peace. The heavy weight on my heart was finally gone. From that point on, I just wanted to enjoy life with my parents, spend time with William, and nurture the child we were expecting. Yes, I was pregnant. When I told William the news, he spun me around in his arms. This time, our destiny was finally on the right track, moving forward together.